Next college up, Coleg Ceredigion, and we've got Maggie Neville and Hannah Middleton, I think working together. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. We're both teachers, and that's really our starting point. I was a peer facilitator, and Hannah was in my peer group. And I think the really important place to start is to say that it was really we were very, very involved. The management, for once, took a back seat and let us make our own decisions about things. And looking at previous ones, it's tended to be that you've identified a whole problem. But in our case, we were looking at our own personal things that we wanted to do. So it was more individual experiments within the college. And I think the thing that really came out of it, me being a peer facilitator, is looking at things differently. You know, you all have your own ideas, but when you go along, and you often don't see people in other departments and other groups. And I hadn't even worked with Hannah before. I hardly knew Hannah. But once we all got together, we started looking at different ways and different approaches. And I think that was, to me, the crux of the whole thing. And when you see other people doing it and you think, oh, it might work for me, it might not, you feel challenged. And then you think, well, I'm going to take that step as well. We had an absolutely brilliant college. Everybody was on board and everybody worked really hard and everybody was really enthusiastic. And I actually believe it was because we as teachers were allowed to do that for ourselves. You know, we weren't being directed in any way, really. And I think by us being able to sit in a room and sometimes say, oh, I'm a bit worried about that, I'm going to do that, gave us the confidence to do it. So I just wanted your feelings, really, Hannah.
Yeah, okay, coming back to what Maggie said. So Maggie was my peer facilitator and I identified an issue within my own teaching practice that I wanted to address, particularly that linked to students' understanding of keywords in questioning, particularly the higher level questions, looking at words like analyse, evaluate, they were finding really, really difficult, which was then having a detrimental effect on their marks. And I felt that I really benefited from being within a group, working with Maggie and others in the group to share my ideas, and then they were able to help me to refine my experiment and introduce me to strategies. And my personal feeling about it was that by having a peer facilitator, really supported me and gave me the opportunity to work with people outside, as Maggie said, of my learning area, and made me think outside the box and pushed me out of my comfort zone.
And I think just before, I was just going to show you my own experiment very briefly. But just that word, really, learning from each other. You know, I learnt from Hannah, Hannah learnt from me. And by trying something new, the students didn't just learn from me, but I also learnt from the students. And I think that was really important. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to very briefly just show you my experiment. And it was within the dreaded word lattice multiplication, and any numeracy teachers out there will think, you know, teaching long chain multiplication is very difficult, and often students come in, they're horrified, and they've often got bad school experiences as well, so that doesn't help either, particularly in further college education. So this was a previous problem that I've had. I always felt that I'd come out of the lesson never really feeling that the majority of the group understood it. It was a level 1 foundation course of about 10 students. And so I thought, you know, with Joanne Miles and with the cluster group, I thought, how can I change this? So I looked at using peer explaining as an assessment method to see if I could motivate the students more and for them to take more control of their learning, really. Moving on, what worked? The majority were engaged, they were motivated. The feedback from them was that they really enjoyed it. The only thing I think the two important points really at the bottom two is that they were self-correcting and correcting others, saving me quite a big job as teachers if they're doing it themselves. And I think that was just absolutely wonderful, you know. And a way of double-checking the results in numeracy, we're being told constantly, you know, how are they going to double-check the results? So they were there, hey, hold on, that's not right, we should have done this. So you know, that was wonderful. And particularly the bottom one, that they are actually developing their literacy skills within their numeracy. We tend to separate the two, and I think a lot of focus now is how we can bring it all together, and I think that's what they were doing there. It was lovely to see their communication skills improving as well. One pair didn't really get it. I think I've got to think more in the future about how to pair people and to be careful that one doesn't dominate the other. So I've got my future plan to share with the college as well, is to use exit cards so that when they leave the room, as you know, your 1 minute test, if I give them one question and I pick up again that there's some that still aren't understanding that, then when they come in at the beginning of the next lesson, I can actually pair to who can help the others. And if you're thinking, oh, well, it'll always be the dominant ones, but maybe in a different area, volumes or areas, it might be someone else that will be the more dominant one of the two. So I'm going to take that further and develop that. I think that's it. Thank you.